right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story that I've got for you guys today, the results of the 2025 World's Strongest Man. And very unexpected results at that. I think going into this competition, a lot of people were mostly talking about Tom Stoltman and Mitchell Hooper. But the guy that ended up winning the show is actually a World's Strongest Man rookie, his first World's Strongest Man ever, Reno Nell from South Africa. Ended up winning with 47 points. Tom Stoltman came in second with 46.5 points. And Mitchell Hooper in third place with 43.5 points. Now, coming into this, Reno was South Africa's strongest man 2 years in a row. And also Africa's strongest man 2 years in a row, both of which were 2023 and 2024. And even during the first couple days of this competition, it still seemed to be like it was going to be between Mitchell Hooper and Tom Stoltman. But then once we got to the deadlift event, it was the 18-inch deadlift. Hooper and Stoltman, they both tied. And that's where Reno surpassed them. Reno also was runner-up in the Hercules hold, which gave him an even better lead. He lost some of that lead during the Flintstone press, which cut his lead down to only 2.5 points. And then coming down to the final event, which was the Atlas Stones, which Reno did good enough that he was still able to win by just half a point, winning the overall World's Strongest Man by just half a point, that is. He was 47 and Tom Stoltman was 46.5, so a pretty close decision. But still, a lot of people seem pretty excited about this because it was an unexpected result. I've been watching most of the stuff today through just various strongman YouTube channels. And that's kind of the weird thing about World's Strongest Man that makes it a little bit harder to follow, is the fact that there's no actual broadcast to watch during the event. It doesn't air until later. So I think all the strongmen that were there in person covering it really did a huge service to people trying to follow along, particularly Eddie Hall, I think, did a great job with his coverage. But if you are a strongman fan, I'm curious to hear in the comments below, what did you think of this outcome? Because it sounds like for everybody, this was a pretty unexpected result. And to be completely honest, I had never even heard of Reno before this weekend's competition. So it's got to be a pretty big surprise, at least to a lot of people, especially since Tom and Mitchell were the only two former World's Strongest Man winners in this competition. And then for a rookie to win the whole thing, pretty exciting stuff. So congratulations to Reno. And hopefully we also get to see him compete in the Arnold Strongman Classic next year. I'd love to get to see that in person. Now, next up in the news, this coming weekend, we've got another bodybuilding competition. It's going to be the Cali Pro. And Regan Grimes is one of the first big names to announce he's doing that show. He also announced he's doing the Toronto Pro. But he is doing the Cali Pro this weekend. I don't really know who else is doing it at this point. We are going to get the official competitor list tomorrow night, probably around 9. But it might be an interesting opportunity for Regan because a lot of the guys that he competed against in New York are now already qualified. Nick Walker, I don't think, has any intention of doing the Cali Pro. He won New York. He's got his Olympia qualification. I'm sure that at this point, Nick is just going to shut it down and focus on the Olympia. Bonac has been already qualified, but continues to compete. So maybe just knowing the trooper that Bonac is, maybe he does Cali just for the hell of it. But I kind of feel like Bonac might not do it because it is kind of on the other side of the country, literally from New York. So I don't know how willing he is, considering the fact that he's already qualified for the Olympia. Because if you look at the shows that Bonac has done, Detroit, Pittsburgh, New York, they're all kind of in this Midwest area. So I think it might have been because they were so close together. But Regan still needs that Olympia qualification. And I think at this New York Pro, I said it yesterday, I think Regan brought arguably the best look of his career. His conditioning was on point. He looked much bigger than the last time we saw him on stage. It looked like he added some quality muscle. The only thing was just that he was fading. And it looked like he was struggling towards the end of prejudging, towards the end of finals, getting tired. And like I said yesterday, I think that probably just has a lot to do with him not competing as recently or as often as he used to. And doing 3 shows this season might help that. So maybe the more he competes, the more he's going to get used to it and maybe get that Olympia qualification. But I am very impressed with the package that Regan brought to New York. Outstanding physique. And I believe Toronto is June 8th. So Regan would do Cali, essentially skip a weekend because the Legion show will be the week after Cali, the weekend after Cali. So it looks like he's going to skip Legion, take that week off, and then go into Toronto. Toronto, he might have a better chance of winning depending on who does this Cali show that was in New York or maybe in Pittsburgh. Krizo is another guy to consider here. Krizo still needs that Olympia qualification, and he did wind up placing ahead of Regan Grimes in New York. But Krizo had said way ahead of time that he was doing Pittsburgh and New York. He didn't say anything about Cali. And I think he mentioned he was going to do some of the European shows, or at least one of the European shows, and try to get his qualification for the Olympia there if he doesn't get it in Pittsburgh and New York, which he did not. So I don't know that Krizo is going to do the Cali show either. And I saw a video earlier today of Steve Weinberger helping Krizo with his posing. I think this is one thing that is really cool about Steve's. I've seen him do this with a lot of guys, and I think that Krizo is a guy that really needs it because he's got an insane physique, but his posing, I think, just needs a lot of work. And for Steve being a judge as long as he has to give Krizo these pointers, I think is very valuable to him because I think it does. I really do think that Krizo's posing is at such a level that I think it actually does hurt his score. And I think it's not only just him being shaky in the poses, not only just him not hitting the poses long enough, but some of the poses I think he just doesn't even hit the right way, and he's not showing off his physique to the best of his ability, and I think that does really hurt him. And then if you look at Sas Haradi's latest post, he placed 5th at the New York Pro. He's done the Cali Pro before, so I think he's going to do it again because he ends that caption with "Let's keep going," and he did FIBO, he did Detroit, he sat out Pittsburgh, but I think it's pretty clear that he's competing for his Olympia qualification as well. That's why he's doing so many shows. That seems to be his goal. I think we'll probably see him in Cali, but again, we're not going to have to speculate for too long. We're going to see the competitor list at some point tomorrow. But so far, I think we'll see Sauce. I think we'll see Regan. I don't know about Bonac. I just don't think he needs to do it. And again, it's a lot of traveling between shows to go all the way to Cali. I just don't know. But Krizo, I think maybe. But like I said, going into New York and Pittsburgh, Krizo had said way ahead of time he was doing those shows. He didn't say anything about Cali, so I'm not sure. And the final story that I've got for you guys today, Nick Walker responds to the hate that he's been getting from the fans. He put up this post with the caption, "Nick Talker, his career is over. Everybody has surpassed him. He'll never be able to catch up. He's had too much downtime. He looks the same as always. Keep it coming. That's where I shine the best." And as we go into the Olympia this year, like I said, I don't think Nick is going to do any other shows. I think he's going to shut it down and go straight to the Olympia because he did an interview after New York. I believe it was with Tony Doherty, where he said his goal is to put on 4 or 5 pounds of more muscle before the Olympia. He wants to bring down his midsection more, and he wants to come in better condition. So it sounds like that's what's next for him, is working on those things before the Olympia. Because I will say, I do think, as good as Nick looked in New York, I still think he looked slightly better in Pittsburgh. And one thing that kind of stood out to me in New York, I thought his midsection looked a little bit worse than it looked in Pittsburgh. And it felt like his abs weren't as deeply carved out. I wouldn't say he was like super distended or anything, but in Pittsburgh, it looked like he had a lot more detail in his abs in shots like the abs and thighs, and it looked a little bit less so here in New York. So I'm glad that he acknowledged that in that interview, that that's something he needs to work on for the Olympia, because I do think that's an important thing for him to try to step up even beyond the improvements that he's already made. And, you know, a lot of people have been saying that's one of the main differences between him and Derek that might have given Derek the edge, is the midsection. It really affects the aesthetics of the physique, and that was kind of the edge that's very noticeable between Derek and Nick. So if you had to pick one, that might be the thing that's like a game-changing body part. So if Nick can bring it down at all, or control it any better, or show any more ab definition, any minor change that makes the midsection better, I think is really important for Nick, because I don't think it's just people pointing it out to hate on Nick. I think it's a genuine thing that might be holding him back. And I do think if you look at comparisons between last year's New York Pro and this year's, I think Nick has made tremendous steps at controlling it, bringing it down, having better control. He has definitely improved. But I still think that he could tweak it a little bit to make it even better. And another thing I would really like to see Nick do, I want to see Nick back on the Arnold Classic stage. I honestly can't imagine he would pass it up for the 750K. Because here's the thing, Nick is stacking up a resume that if he wins the Olympia, he's starting to have a resume that other Mr. Olympia champs just don't have. The 3 New York Pro titles, and he's already got an Arnold Classic win. If he wins another one and he somehow manages to win the Olympia, that's a really impressive resume. If he had 2 Arnolds, 3 New York Pros, and someday maybe an Olympia title, Samson Dauda doesn't have a New York Pro title. Nick has 3. Derek Lunsford doesn't have a New York Pro title. Nick has 3. And as far as Arnold Classic titles, Derek has 1. Samson has 1. Hottie has 1, if we're talking about the Ohio show specifically. If Nick gets another one, in addition to those 3 New York Pro titles, it would put him in a really interesting position. If he wins an Olympia title, he would have a really impressive resume behind that. But anyway, I'm going to wrap up the video there. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, click that bell notification icon if you have not already. And as always, I love you guys, appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at Nick Strength Power. My Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power. My secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.